Hey everyone, Internet Business Book Reader here. Today I want to talk about A Guest in the House by Emily Carroll. Emily Carroll is the author of Through the Woods, which I have not read yet, but this book got a blurb from Guillermo del Toro. In case if you somehow have never heard of him, he's the guy who made Hell's Boy, Pan's Labyrinth, Pacific Rim, Shape of Water, etc. There's also a planet in Ultraman's universe named after him, and he played as Deadman in Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding. Since from my experience, he rarely misses, I thought I'd give the book a try while it's also on discount. The main character in the story used to dream of dragon, about being a knight, going on an adventure, fighting against these dragons, slicing them until they bleed gold and diamond and she would bathe in the glory of its battle. But in real life, Abby got married, and she's happy being married. It's not like she's not content. She liked pouring coffee for her husband and getting somewhat of a thank you. She liked her house and every nook and cranny of it. She liked doing part-time job at Fellowship Mart near her house even if she did not have to because the provider of their house is still her husband's dentist work. And she likes the view outside her house. And one day she'll also learn to love her daughter Crystal. Her husband is older than her and they cannot relate with each other at a lot of things. He had a lot of flaws, but she's not a catch eater. Looking in the mirror doesn't remind her of her dreams of dragon. She had a normal life where you sometimes imagine making her hand go through her neck. A normal life. But one day, a new neighbor came. She introduced herself as Beth Wilson, who lived in the blue house nearby, then barged inside the house without asking permission. She's being extra rude and entitled inside, asking for vodka without directly asking for vodka, commenting that the water is not filtered, asking about her family situation, her husband's job, commenting on their lack of decoration, like a family portrait, choices of where everything is placed. And because of the sudden arrival of this guest, cracks are starting to form on her "this is fine" mentality, that is just basically having an insurmountable amount of copium on a daily basis. She's like a hoarder that keeps on saying "this is fine, I'm happy with this" as trash piled up in her house. Obviously she's not happy, she's at her own house but nothing at the house have any trace of her. At home, her husband is the one who talks and she's the one who listens. She's not going to make any decision for the house anytime soon. Crystal is not even her own daughter but the previous wife's daughter. This is not her house and she is just another guest in the house. And as you might have guessed from how I said a guest in the house twice, there is multiple ways of reading these books. There is this weird intensity to people's interaction in the book. There's a conversation with the school teacher where the teacher doesn't change their facial expression during conversation, which is uncanny as fuck. Here, there's also an uncomfortable flashback in the middle of an uncomfortable conversation that is placed at the center of the page, at the heart of it. It's just one panel, but it adds so much. But this first act is not where the horror starts. It introduces us to the characters and the atmosphere the story will take place, but it's still just the introduction. Starting from the second act, the atmosphere gets more oppressive. The husband started getting more paranoid about the lake at the front of their house, and Abby started seeing more traces of Sheila in the house. A photo that Crystal hides, her painting that had her signature is also hidden in their house. And from here, Abby's obsession about Sheila's, a girl that looks so different from her, started to grow. Abby doesn't like how she looks and who she is. Her boob is sagging and she's only worked at Minimart. Meanwhile, in the one picture she's seen of Sheila, she's slender and attractive. She's also an artist who can paint beautiful pictures and she's the actual mother of Crystal unlike her. And then she found out that Sheila and her husband is not a happy couple and her death might not be due to cancer like what her husband told her. And here, Abby's imagination started to turn into her saving Sheila from the tower she is imprisoned, and then she started seeing Sheila's in her house, the ghost of Sheila's. It is the classic take of horror like the one in Haunting of Hill House where we are always questioning everything and everyone in the story. If it's done badly, it can be obnoxious, obviously, but the author did a great job here. Abby is such a great, unreliable narrator as a main character. From her view, everything is all black and white, dull, and uninviting. Meanwhile, the world of her imagination that could be some kind of schizophrenia or actual haunting is so colorful. It's much preferable compared to the black and white of her life, which I'm quite sure is on purpose and a metaphor of some kind of escapism. And the separation of colorful and colorless also makes us question the realness of the ghosts because they're almost always colorful like Abby's imagination. And that's how the book is written. Everything in the book seems to be a metaphor for something else. You can easily connect pieces together, then you might even risk connecting things that are not supposed to connect. In the middle of everything, there's a story about the counterfeit money. The need of the character to question everything and how his story makes us question everything seems fitting with this counterfeit money. Abby's sister, the one where she told Crystal about her death due to a bike accident, she called their mother the old dragon. Does it have anything to do with the dragon that she killed over and over again in her imagination? And Abby used to have an imaginary friend named Lady Grey that used to comfort her, and there's one scene where Sheila's ghost came in and comforted her, like her imaginary friends. There's a huge possibility that she's just her imagination, but at one point where Sheila's ghost got so angry she ran outside and the window of their house was smashed with traces of the shark going outside of their house. So something from the inside did break the window to go outside. So is it just a coincidence or is the ghost real? And if the ghost is real, is it really Sheila's ghost? Because Abby is not the only one who saw her after all. Crystal also had said that she saw her mother sometime. She saw her as this horrible looking ghost that just stares at her. But maybe that's just part of her grieving process, the kind that can make a child go outside at night and went nearby a dark lake with a flashlight knowing that it's dangerous. And if it's Sheila's ghost, why did she came? We know about Sheila's only from how people talk about her and always in different ways. And is it true that she was killed by her husband? Is that why she became a ghost in the first place? Or maybe it's not even Sheila's ghost. Her husband may be right, maybe there's always dead bodies in the lake. Maybe she's just another drone ghost like the one from Talk to Me movies. I forgot where I read them, but I once read a description of how a character, a woman, was so beautiful to the point of her being unreal, to the point of her being scary. Some of the art here, like this lighthouse with a giantess hiding behind it, I would describe it as such. And that is just one of the many varieties of how horror came in the book. There are others that are much more subtle, like a hand reaching out of the dog before body horror was presented to us. All of these elements created such an oppressing atmosphere for Abby and also for us, the readers, until it culminates in the night where David got back home late and drunk. Maybe he slipped on a mug that Abby left behind the other day when she was contemplating things on the lake, or maybe the hand of the ghost pulled him in. Either way, he fell into the lake, not being able to swim out either from being drunk or because of the ghost trying to push him into the water. Abby goes in the water, and for reasons that we might never know, instead of helping him get out of the water, she helped the ghost push him in the water. Now it's just her and Crystal at the house. All she needed was to convince her to go out with her, out of the house, away from the lake. She started telling lies after lies. Another uncomfortable flashback that took center stage happens here, just like the one back at the start. And just like back at the start, Beth Wilson makes another appearance again. The rude lady from the start of the book, the one that caused the crack in Abby's coping mechanism. She asks her help to look after Crystal for a while she goes to her work. It was here that the boss told her the end of the counterfeit money story. The criminal lived in the blue house near Abby's house, the house that Beth Wilson said she lived in. There was no Beth Wilson. The house near her has always been empty, so she went back home to confront Beth Wilson. She got back home to catch Beth still being there. She called herself Crystal Mom. She said she is or was Sheila. She ran away from home and then her husband started telling all kind of lies about her to everyone else. So who's the ghost? Who is she? It's a short and amazing graphic novel. It is the kind of graphic novel where you most likely can always find something new, a new detail that you might have missed when you read them the first time. The art is amazing and its use of color are superb where the colors become part of the storytelling. A lot of horror-esque art especially tends to just go to the Junji Itoh route, which can make the genre stale and repetitive, especially since a lot of them forget that some Junji Itoh's work can also be hauntingly beautiful. I had such a blast reading this book. It's really neat that there's a new and refreshing take on horror art. Who knew that murder can look this hauntingly beautiful? And being the kind of story where each part of the story can be taken differently makes me curious what others read the story as. For me personally, I think it's schizophrenia, but maybe you guys read them differently. I give this a 4.75. What do you think? Let me know if I miss anything, so leave your thoughts in the comment below and subscribe to the channel. That's about it.